Hello and welcome to the Father and Son Formula One podcast. I'm the father in the title, Graham Miller, and here is my son, Toby.
Hello.
This week, apologies for a little bit late, but we will be discussing the Canada Grand Prix.
Yes.
I know by the time we publish it, we'll probably know what's going on in Austria, but This is the Canada Grand Prix.
Yeah.
I must admit, when we do these podcasts, we often have pages up like BBC, Sport and F1. While we were setting all the tech up, I got completely distracted by an article on BBC Formula One about a project called More Than Equal, which trains teenage girls, women, a bit hard to know what to say, in driving Ginetta G40s, because there are Ginetta-only cups out there and things.
Yeah, Lando Norris did Ginetta racing before F1, I remember that.
Yeah, they're quite an established kind of small kit car racery kind of brand. But it's just terrifying. It's like 14 and 15-year-olds. And one of them said here, boys will still put her in the barrier rather than finishing behind her. They would rather they didn't finish and the girl didn't finish than finish behind the girl and get told they just got beaten by a girl.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, just what?
Yeah, well, men are stupid, aren't they, really?
Yeah, one of them also said, well, if you can't handle being beaten by a girl, give up and go and play football.
Yeah, or get better.
Well, yeah.
Like, the thing is that even the best, F1 drivers couldn't handle being beaten by anyone.
No.
Like, I think Hamilton did 50 races. He DNF'd one of them and came second in the other and won every other one in karting.
Yeah.
And apparently coming second actually really upset him and messed him up. Because he was like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah,
He was 14 or something.
It's like we said about Arvid Lindblad, that every time something goes wrong or a session doesn't work out the way he wanted, he never blames anybody. He just goes to the team and said, right, what are we learning?
Yeah.
How can we not do this again?
Yeah. Well, there is the F1 Academy that's still going.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there are quite a few drivers who are in that area who are going over to endurance racing and other sports car racing and IndyCar and stuff.
Are they in DTM yet as well or not?
I think Sophia Flörsch might be doing DTM. I don't know. But I think... Oh yeah, so Abby Pulling, who was the champion last year, she's now working with Nissan Formula E. I know Jamie Chadwick's doing Indy NXT, which is like the IndyCar F2 level.
Oh, wow.
And she did actually win a race in that as well.
So it's getting there.
Well, it's certainly better than it was. But I think the thing is, the next woman F1 champion might not even be racing yet, if that makes sense.
No, I think they're saying 10 to 15 years is looking likely.
Because, yeah, the thing is, Jamie Chadwick's already sort of 26, I think. Which is, young by any measure, but in terms of F1, look at Antonelli.
Well, yeah, again, people looking at Antonelli, Lindblad, Bortoletto.
Yeah, they got the exception for him, didn't they? Because he's too young.
Yeah, Lindblad will be 18 in August, I think.
Yeah. So it is... They need to be looking at karting and 8-year-old girls and say, get karting and get good.
Well, the thing is, they need the vast numbers of people, women, in all levels of grassroots motorsport to come up through.
Yeah.
Because, in my mind, it's not about finding a female Hamilton or Alonso or Verstappen. I think you need to find a woman who is not mediocre, but, like a midfield driver, for example.
Or like a female Hulkenberg.
Well, yeah,
Bottas, or
Stroll or somebody like that. It's
maybe a bit better than Stroll, because I think if Stroll was a woman, would he actually still be in F1?
Well, there's a lot of people saying, why is he still in F1 anyway? So
because of his dad. So I think... Yeah, but I see what you mean. It's like the fact that there hasn't even been a single female F1 driver in a session since... Was it 2014 or something?
Oh, so one in 2014?
in like a practice session, I think. But it's seriously been like, given that there's the whole rookie FP1 rule.
Yeah.
Got to imagine somebody would have given one to one of the academy drivers just to see what could happen.
And also, you got to think as well. Yes, there's a very boys-owned club, but in terms of, because it is also a business, the advertising you could do, the profile raising, the money you could raise.
Yeah, I mean,
the number of interviews you would do and the newspaper headlines you would get.
There's that like criticism of like certain musicians and stuff that's like, oh, it's just for teenage girls. To which people who actually sort of know about it turn around and go, yeah, but teenage girls have money too.
Yeah.
They're just as valid a market as any other.
Well, somebody pointed out a lot of musical trends are actually started by teenage girls, and then serious musicians get in on them and say, oh, yes, but... And then it becomes serious, like the Beatles.
I was actually thinking of the Beatles, because Beatlemania was teenage girls.
Yeah.
And then once they took loads of drugs and stopped touring, all the men went, yes, they're good musicians.
Yeah.
Whereas back in like '62, they were probably scoffing and just going, "Oh, they're just pretty," and
they're probably like your Take That or your Backstreet Boys or man, I'm showing how old I am now.
Well, they were the original boy band, weren't they? Really?
Yeah, BTS or something. Anyway,
how off topic can we possibly get?
Canada Free Practice 1.
Yes.
What I noticed was really odd.
Yes.
Was that like you said about the Free Practice 1, every driver has to give up his seat twice.
Yes.
The entire grid of 20 full-time paid drivers was out in FP1.
Yeah.
There was no substitutions at all in Canada.
Yeah. Even, I mean, again, we're recording it out of order, but even back in Austria, we just had 2 substitutions, I think.
Yeah. I think... Oh, I remember it now.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Leclerc went off and I think he went into the wall actually. And
yeah, he bent his suspension, I remember now as well.
I think he needed a whole new chassis and gearbox.
Yes.
Because I think if I go to FP2, we'll find that only 19 drivers completed laps, which...
Yes.
I can't actually remember the last time somebody had a crash bad enough to make them miss Free Practice 2, because that's like a third of your data and setup time.
It has happened, I think. It's usually I think maybe within the last year it's happened.
It's not common though.
No, I mean...
It's usually... it was usually Williams last year absolutely wrecking everything, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, with Sargent and Colapinto.
Yeah.
But yeah, 19 competitors in FP2.
I mean, the real story of the Friday and Saturday morning was that Mercedes was suddenly doing really well.
Yeah, they were fast.
Which, to be honest, a slow-ish, cool-ish semi-street circuit is kind of their happy place.
Yeah.
I mean, the circuits where they have found a bit more pace than usual have usually been kind of semi-street, not your like Spa or Spain where they've got a fully tarmacked, raced every weekend track.
Yeah. Well, they were very good at Spa last year, weren't they?
Yeah, I think next year, I think that's the last time they're running Canada in June, isn't it? I think they're moving it back near the other American races.
Because next year, I think we talked about this last year, they moved everything around. Last episode, rather. Because they moved everything around so that I think Canada replaces Monaco.
Yeah.
So that... Oh, where's the... Let me just find the Canada.
But that does mean that there'll be an even colder one because obviously Canada's a lot further north and I think they're going into April?
May. 22nd of May. Yeah, they swapped it. So Monaco's now the 5th of June.
Yeah.
Because of Miami, of course.
Yeah, so then they'll do like an American stint and...
Well, briefly. It's slightly better. But again, the alternative is having Canada in October, which actually might be impossible.
Yeah. Pirelli, bring out the snow tyres.
Yeah, like white marked chain tyres.
That'd be awesome.
Knowing Pirelli, they wouldn't do anything though.
No, I don't think anything much happened in any of the other free practices. Leclerc was still faster than Hamilton. Norris was quick.
As usual. The McLarens were quick.
I think qualifying, the first two were fairly ordinary in qualifying.
Yeah.
I mean, Sainz is actually doing really badly in quali at the moment.
Yeah, 17th.
Out in Q1.
I think he's struggling to get to grips with the car in the same way that Albon has.
Well, Albon's had years to get used to that car.
Well, like 2 years.
Well, rather than this is his 10th race.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough.
But I mean, Q1, Bortoletto, Stroll, Lawsoning. Gasly can do better than that.
Yeah, not entirely sure what happened to Gasly. So this is as it finished, because then Tsunoda got a penalty, and Hadjar also got a penalty.
Tsunoda got a 10th place penalty.
Overtaking under red flags, which we've seen before. Is they're quite harsh on that because it is a serious thing.
Yeah, he actually. I really probably can't find it now.
Oh, was it? Who did someone crash and they were coming into the pits?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, free practice. Piastri, I think, broke a wheel, and he drove back to the pits, but Tsunoda overtook him to get back in front of him. But it was red flags, so they got him a penalty.
Yeah, because Tsunoda then said in an interview afterwards, "What do you want me to do? Do you want me to follow a car and have bits of rubber and carbon fibre thrown at me for half a lap?"
And also, at what point do they allow him to overtake? How slowly does Piastri have to be going? What if Piastri just stopped?
I mean, given his penalty, 10 grid place penalty, I think if that happened to another driver, they might just pull over to the side of the track, leave the engine running, wait until he's got 4 or 5 corners ahead, and then go slowly into the pits.
Yeah.
Because what else can you do under a red flag if you're going to get a 10 place grid drop?
Yeah. I don't know.
Because if you're getting bits of car, I mean, if he's got a tyre flapping around, which I think he did.
Yeah.
You know, if you're following him, you could actually damage your own car, or...
Yeah.
Oh, I'm straining my brain now. Was it Massa or Barrichello who got hit by a bolt?
It was Massa.
300 yeah, 300 kph in Hungary.
It completely knocked him out.
Yeah.
Which was quite scary, actually, because he still had his foot on the accelerator, so he just drove into the wall.
Yeah, and it actually carved a groove through his helmet.
And and I think, there are some who say he was never really as good after that as he had been beforehand.
No, there's been a lot of research into what they now call traumatic brain injuries and how they kind of change things.
Like, like football and rugby and stuff, like frequent concussions.
Yeah, or even a one-off.
Yeah.
Even a one-off concussion can make a big difference.
Well, quite a long-term one. Didn't you say, like, in like crime novels and stuff, somebody gets knocked out for several hours, but actually neuroscientists said that if that happened, you would be like forever changed.
Oh, several hours is major
That's like
danger.
life-threateningly bad.
Oh God, I mean, even 5 or 10 minutes, they'd want you in hospital for a couple of weeks to monitor you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a writer. I write crime novels, as I say, at the end of everything. And it's really handy for the plot if you get somebody out of the way.
Yeah, so they can be moved to like a new place and stuff.
Or so, like, something can happen and they don't notice it, or...
Yeah.
And also, I saw a whole podcast on this. It's really difficult to actually hit somebody so you can just cleanly knock them out.
Mm.
You might make them really angry with a sore head, or you might kill them. It's
really... Human beings are very weak.
Anyway, so yes, Yuki Tsunoda 10-place grid drop, which kind of was unfair because he managed to qualify up to 11th, which
is slightly less terrible.
It's going in the right direction.
But then he ended up last. which is a bit,
I mean, he was
it's unlucky for sure.
He was 200ths off Isaac Hadjar.
Yeah.
Which isn't a huge amount to get him up into Q1.
Mm.
And then he was, like you say, plumb last. Oh no, wait a minute, I was looking at the wrong one. Yeah, it wasn't... Oh god,
yeah. He qualified 11th.
Yeah, I can't work out who qualified 10th.
Albon.
Oh yeah, no, he was like so close to 10th, wasn't he?
Oh, I see, you're trying to look at that. 121 1, 112 1, and then a 112 0 for Hadjar.
Yeah.
So 10th.
Yeah.
I think it's generally been accepted that Verstappen is outdriving that Red Bull by quite a margin.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that Gasly, Albon, Tsunoda and Perez are all terrible drivers.
No.
We've just seen that they're just not.
No.
But Verstappen is really making them look bad.
Oh, right. They settled an important question on the commentary for qualifying, admittedly for Austria. They spoke to Laurent Mekies, who's team boss for
RB.
Racing Bulls.
Yeah.
And he confirmed it.
Yeah.
He's French. He speaks to Hadjar in French and calls him Isaac.
Isaac. Yeah.
But he said he's well aware that if you're English, you pronounce his name Isaac. And to be honest, he's really neutral. He doesn't care. If you call him Isaac because you're English, or you call him Isaac because you're French, it's fine.
Yeah. Charles Leclerc is the same, apparently. He was asked all the way back in 2018, is it Charles or Charles? And he said, I don't care. Because all the French or French speaking people around him will say Charles.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't mind being called Charles Leclerc.
I suppose it's quite an English focused sport, isn't it?
Yeah, although, it started in France. It's just that English is the lingua franca.
Oh yeah, because the FIA is Fédération Internationale Automobile.
Yeah, it should be the IFA, the International Federation of Automobiles.
Or the IAF.
Yeah, anyway.
But then...
Yes.
In Q3 we had Leclerc in 8th.
Yeah, what happened to him?
Was that the one where he saved some tyres?
No, that was Spain. We talked about that. I think he just was slow.
And Norris came in 7th.
Yeah. Alonso in 6th somehow.
Because he's a good driver.
Really? Where's the proof of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
He's very good at driving. He's not so good at the politics side of it, but
The business. Choosing the right team.
It's not just choosing the right team, actually. I think I must have heard or read something. He's just very good at annoying people.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, if you're in a team like he was in McLaren when they were awful,
yeah,
and you say things like, why am I bothering? This is a Formula 2 car in a Formula 1 race.
Yeah.
People aren't going to go, oh yeah, let's have him in our team. He'll be great for morale.
Well, think about what Hamilton would say. Was we win together, we lose together.
Yeah.
And when something bad happens and he comes out early, loses, he gets eliminated from qualifying early, he'll say what happened there? As opposed to, the car sucks. He's actually asking, how can we make it better?
And quite often, he'll just take it on the chin and go, I wasn't fast enough.
Yeah. It's
very rare that he'll go around to people and go, yeah, they didn't give me the car I wanted.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alonso out-qualifying a McLaren and a Ferrari is quite epic. Albon and Hadjar kind of expected to stick it in the bottom of Q3, to be honest.
Yeah, that's not terribly surprising. And then Antonelli in 4th.
Yeah.
That's quite good. Hamilton in 5th is pretty standard for him.
It was a weird weekend because everybody was like, oh, is it the beginning of the end for the McLaren domination? Because 3rd and 7th isn't really what they signed up for, is it?
No, it's not what they've been used to recently, for sure.
No. Oh yeah, Hadjar got a penalty as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he impeded someone.
Yeah. So he dropped down to 12th. Tsunoda vanished. Actually to 18th.
Why?
Because Lawson and Gasly had huge amounts of component changes.
Yeah.
Did they work it out this way? Because I was thinking Tsunoda started 21st.
Yes.
Because he had an 10-place drop off 11th.
Yeah.
But I think Lawson and Gasly picked up huge amounts of points for...
Yeah. I think they do actually work out how many places it is.
So the fact...
In order to order them.
See, Lawson was already 19th and Gasly was 20th on the grid. So even a 5-place for each of them would have put them 24 and 25. So at that...
Yeah.
At which point you might as well chuck as much new stuff in the car as you possibly can.
I think they just ended up with a pit lane start, the pair of them.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I thought I saw a document that said that Lawson had a 60-place grid drop.
Awesome.
Which is what they used to... I remember back when McLaren were awful, I think Van Dorn had something like a 65-place drop once.
So Lawson would have started in place 79.
He would have started back in Spain, whatever the previous race was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then... Pretty standard starting grid. Hulkenberg in 11th.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of benefited.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there on like the Sunday morning and the Sunday afternoon and thinking that could be really painful because you've got Verstappen and Russell on the front row.
Yeah.
And no matter how much they all smile and go, oh yeah, well we're all friends really.
They're both quite aggressive drivers.
And I actually don't believe it. I don't think they actually like each other.
Well, they probably have a certain amount of professional respect. But they're obviously not coming to blows whenever they see each other.
No.
But you don't have to be best friends with everyone you meet.
No. And, I mean, you've got... I think somebody said it went back to Azerbaijan 23.
Yeah.
Where they actually started arguing with each other. And, I mean, the end of last year where... Russell accused Verstappen of basically bullying him and saying, well, I'm just going to run you into a wall next race.
Yeah.
And Verstappen was like, yeah, but you know, Russell, he's just really two-faced.
Yeah.
You don't kind of walk back from that and just go, oh, actually, yeah, we've just banter, we're fine.
I mean, if they did speak to each other afterwards and didn't say anything to the media, then maybe. But yeah, I don't know.
They got through it like cleanly, didn't they?
Yeah, they raced each other perfectly fine, I think. Did Antonelli pit Piastri at the start?
Yeah, I think in the first few laps. I mean, that was... I'll tell you what I noticed was really odd about the whole race overall before the big 6-7 laps from the end controversy. Was that... So I'm just also trying to figure out what this new style of F1 website. Norris qualified down in 7th and Piastri was 4th.
Yes.
And yet somehow by the time he got to the end, Norris was attacking Piastri for position on the track.
Yeah, for 4th, I think.
Yeah.
It was a good recovery drive up until that point.
But I think what happened is, I'm fairly certain that was one of the races where Pirelli shifted everything a degree softer.
Yeah, they brought the C6 back.
So the kind of the standard strategy, if you qualify out of position, which Norris in 7th is out of position and Leclerc in 8th is out of position,
yeah,
is to start on the hards and go deep.
Mm.
But you think about it, those hards are last year's mediums.
Yeah.
So
all the tyres were much more fragile.
Yeah. Have I got that the right way round? Yeah, this year's hards are last year's mediums.
Yeah, this year's softs were last year's nothing. They didn't exist.
Yeah, and this year's mediums are last year's softs.
Yeah, my brain's breaking. And I think that this is why I like the old Pirelli Rainbow of like hyper ultra softs.
Yeah, because
it made them like. I know these softs are the same compound roughly. I think they've changed it. But just looking at like the hyper and the ultra soft, you got the impression they were made out of like candy floss.
Yeah.
And they would just not last any more than like 3 quarters.
So, like you say, it was a recovery drive to put Norris on the hards, but actually they were a really capable tyre.
Yeah, and I think, did they not really have any kind of data on them?
No, because, with all the practicing, you don't really ever run the hards because you kind of get medium and soft data for qualifying and medium for the race.
Yeah. So I think, yeah.
Yeah, most of them did a 2-stop.
It was, yeah, I mean, did Leclerc do a massive overcut on Hamilton?
No, because Hamilton did hit a groundhog.
Oh yes, of course, I forgot. He had... So on the broadcast, they showed a radio message from Ferrari saying, we've got damage somewhere. But then they didn't ever pick back up on it, and they didn't say anything or show any replays of him, like, brushing a wall.
No, they said 20 points of downforce has been lost, which I think they said equates to about half a second a lap.
Yeah. So then the commentators were saying, oh, where did that come from? But then they kind of just dropped it at some point.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out as well.
I know that they've hit... The groundhogs do come out onto the track quite a bit because of where it is. And I thought that's a possibility because they wouldn't want to show that on TV because it's a bit kind of grim, really.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't want to mention it, but that did turn out to be what happened.
Yeah, and obviously Hamilton was really cut up about it as well.
Yeah, because he's like a vegan or... I
think
he says plant-based.
Yeah, he's vegan.
He loves animals, and he said afterwards he was really upset about it, which was quite sad.
Yeah. I mean, you say that because he's vegan and loves animals, but I don't think there's any driver out there who would go, yes, got myself a groundhog.
There's probably one or two in all of history.
Well, yeah, we're not on the grid at the moment.
Hopefully not. I think back in the day, maybe the 80s, in Austria, I think a driver actually hit a deer.
Oh my god.
Which was actually bad enough to bring out the red flag, because, I mean, he crashed into it and wrecked his car, because deer was solid.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, even the groundhog kind of wrecked Hamilton's race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just quickly reading the... Yeah, I mean, it was... We were saying just before we hit record on this podcast, it was one of those races, it was a 2-stop. It was very much undercut, overcut strategy. I have a feeling that, once again, McLaren... I wouldn't say messed up. I don't think they picked the best strategy that Piastri could have had because he got pitted out into traffic.
Yeah, he had a lot of traffic to deal with.
And I think between him being pitted out into traffic and Norris going deep on the hards, I think that's where Norris caught him up, to be honest, because he overcut him quite massively.
Yeah.
Yeah, Russell the Mercedes was just brutally quick there. Antonelli got past Piastri for third. Max was quite quick. Like we said, it wasn't really a McLaren kind of weekend, was it?
No, it's probably one of their weakest weekends all year, actually. Not just because of the end result.
Yeah, I mean...
because even if they had held on to where they were, they only would have been 4th and 5th.
Yeah. I mean, what happened, I'm looking for the actual lap number.
Yeah.
Because, as you say, Norris caught up to the back of Piastri sort of in the closing stages. I'm going to say about 8 to 10 laps to go.
Yeah.
And he actually got past him at one point, didn't he? There was actually a few corners where he got past him and Norris just held on until it cut back, and then he was on the inside, then he got back past him.
Yeah, I think that happened. They had quite a sort of a battle.
And then, going down the start-finish straight,
yes,
Norris tried to go up the inside of Piastri, as Piastri was perfectly legitimately, totally racing line. He kind of starts on the right and very gently drifts left to apex the left-hander on turn 1. And they're just, however many times you rewatch it, there just wasn't the room for where Norris put his car.
No, yeah. There was no real sort of chance for him to actually get through there. It was quite a silly move in the end, I think.
Yeah. It was, I just really can't understand. I think the best word to describe it was desperate.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was kind of calm and collected.
No, it wasn't calculated at all. It was just a sort of mad attempt.
Yeah. I'm just having a quick look. It's got to be in here somewhere. But yeah, and he just clipped the back of Piastri's car. Luckily, did no damage to Piastri.
Yeah.
And smacked himself into the wall on the left side and ripped his left wheel off, basically.
Yeah.
Norris initially took the position in the hairpin. Piastri snatched it back on turn 13. Down the main straight, he just braked late, they said, and made contact. And fair enough, immediately he held his hand up and was like, yeah, that was me.
Yeah, he came on the radio straight away and was like, that was my fault entirely.
Yeah.
Which was quite quite kind of admirable, I'd say.
It's also kind of absolutely classic kind of Norris.
Yeah, well, he knows when he's messed something up and he's got the sort of...
Yeah.
The ability to... Yeah, he's very self-critical naturally, so it's not really a surprise that he would understand.
I mean, it did have a lot of interesting consequences.
Yeah.
I mean, for one thing, we saw Antonelli's first ever podium.
Yes.
I was thinking about this today, but I don't think we've got the can you have champagne thing, so I'm fairly sure Americans who can nip over the border to Canada to go to a bar.
Right.
And Canada's Commonwealth, so it's much more kind of British based, so I'm sure you can drink at 18.
I'm having a look at the...
Russell won the race from Verstappen, so it was two Mercedes on the platform, on the podium. It was the first race in Lord knows how long without a McLaren podium.
This year, I think, definitely.
Yeah.
Let me have a look. Well, yeah, because Piastri's been on the podium at every race apart from this one and the first one. And then Norris won the first one, so yes.
Oscar Piastri ended his streak of 8 consecutive podiums.
Yeah. I say Vegas last year, there was no McLaren on the podium.
Yeah. Again, a coolish street circuit, so it was a Mercedes job, wasn't it?
Yeah. Also, the alcohol law in Canada.
Yeah.
Which province was it?
Montreal.
That's a city.
I know, I'm just... Right.
Where is... Oh, it's in Quebec. Oh. Quebec is one of the 3 that is 18. The rest of them are 19. British Columbia, Ontario, Nova Scotia, Yukon, all the rest of them.
So it was close.
Yeah. But he was still technically perfectly allowed to have a nice bottle of champagne.
Apparently a lot of them don't drink it. A lot of them have entirely either alcohol-free lives or they have a whole dry weekend just to kind of...
Yeah.
Although you think at the end of the weekend, but apparently a lot of them don't even drink on the podium if they get there.
Well, I think Hamilton, I don't think he drinks, does he? Doesn't he have like a alcohol-free vodka or something?
Tequila.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Raikkonen's the opposite because he didn't even spray it. He just stood there and chugged the whole thing. He was like, why waste good,
I don't think it's that good champagne, but yeah.
Oh, who cares? Why waste any champagne?
Yeah.
You sure? Why wouldn't it be good champagne? Isn't it like a sponsor?
Yeah, but I don't think they'd put like the best Premier Cru champagne in there because they know most of it's going to be wasted.
I kind of feel like they probably should. It seems like the sort of thing F1 would do, just be, excessive for no reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe you're right.
Alonso scored a good, healthy lot of points.
Well, let me get the results back.
Yeah. Oh, Ferrari 5 and 6, which is actually for them, that's a pretty healthy load of points.
It's sort of, I think that's kind of the bare minimum for Ferrari. Because they should be, getting podiums and getting, good results. It seems like they've actually, apart from that time they double DNF'd, they've pretty much always been in that 4th to 8th bracket with occasional podiums. So it's...
Yeah.
Given that Hamilton had damage and Leclerc had a compromised qualifying, it's not awful. But I think if we look at the constructors, they're settling into that 3rd place. Just ahead of Red Bull, maybe fighting with Red Bull for 3rd, but then Mercedes might start running away with it.
Yeah.
Although we don't really know. Because Mercedes do struggle on occasion.
Oh.
I think honestly, I think that P2 in the championship is still kind of all to play for between Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, the championship is looking really interesting. Right.
Yeah.
It was Ferrari Trento Italian sparkling wine. It's now Moët et Chandon.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of that, but only in the context of that's rich people stuff.
Oh, no, you've heard of it somewhere else as well.
Where?
She drinks Moët and Chandon.
In a pretty cabinet.
Yes.
Yes. So...
But if it's good enough for Queen...
Yeah, I can see it actually on the...
No, she keeps Moët and Chandon, yeah.
I'm actually looking at the Wikipedia page. There's a section called Songs. So Queen, Prince, the Notorious B.I.G., Snoop Dogg, loads of rappers have referenced it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's the fancy rich people champagne, which is obviously why they all want to, show off.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I've just got the championship up. McLaren are looking pretty much unstoppable, less than halfway through the season and 175 points ahead of second place.
Yes. Brilliant.
7 wins out of 9 races. 10 races, I can't count.
Yeah, I was just looking at my thing and I've got 3 race wins that aren't.
But then, you've got Mercedes on 199, including like Canada where they got a double podium.
Yeah.
Ferrari on 183.
Which
and
is including that double DNF they got, or DSQ.
Well, quite.
And then Red Bull with 1 driver.
And Max Verstappen on 162.
Yeah, well, Max is on 155.
Yeah.
Also, why is it 162? Because in my one it's 165, but I did double check. Verstappen's on 155 and Tsunoda's on 10.
Did Tsunoda get points for...
I don't think he did.
Racing Bulls.
Wait, was that China race? 6th.
Might have been a sprint in China or something.
Yeah, the sprint in China was 6th in sprint. Hold on.
3.
3 points.
3, 2, 1.
Which is the difference between my spreadsheet and theirs. Oh well.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, 199 down to 162. Any of those 3 could switch places.
What's the max haul? Is it 44?
25.
43?
35. Yeah, 43. But
Yeah.
we're less than halfway through.
But what's the gap there? 16?
Well, if Red
18?
Bull got a max haul, which is kind of unlikely because you'd expect Tsunoda in second,
It's not impossible though.
they go up to 205 and immediately second.
And if Ferrari, which is more likely, if they did the same...
Or even a double podium, they're only 16 points behind.
Yeah. Honestly, even a single podium, if both Mercedes are out the points...
Or
it
if
is
like
super
Mercedes
tight.
had a bad weekend, it's...
It's super tight.
But the best one to look for is Haas on 28, RB on 28.
And don't forget Aston Martin on 22 and Stake on 20.
Yeah.
There's actually 4 teams covered by 8 points.
Which means, one freakishly good result with both in the points and some bad weekends, and that could really shuffle around a lot.
Which it will. Williams have a bit of a buffer because they've been really good.
Lonely 5th.
Yeah. And then Alpine are struggling quite a lot.
Yeah, they really are.
So I think it was changing the drivers actually kind of messed them up a bit.
Yeah, because they've almost got a 2-rookie team in a way.
Yeah.
Because they had Doohan. Oh no, they've got Gasly.
Gasly's quite experienced and he scored all their points.
Yeah.
But they didn't give Doohan enough time to acclimatise.
No, and I think they've had the 5 race that they promised to give Colapinto now.
This will be the 5th race, Austria, coming up.
Yeah. But
most people seem to assume that it's just a permanent switch.
Yeah, I think they said we're not going to change now. Also, do you want to flash back to the bad old days of the early noughties?
Sure.
Guess who was seen chatting to Flavio Briatore?
Let me think. Not Bernie.
Yeah, very short, very 80s.
Ugh. Yikes.
I mean, really, they should have got a parabolic mic just in case.
Are there any 2 people on Earth you'd less like to go to dinner with than Bernie Ecclestone and Flavio Briatore?
I kind of would, just because then at least I'd know what was going on.
I don't think you would, though, and I think they'd also leave without paying somehow.
Oh, thanks for the dessert. I just need the toilet.
Yeah, just need to pop off and freshen up, and then you never see them again.
Left my checkbook in the car.
Yes. Anyway.
Oh, right. I've started following on Facebook.
Yes.
Racing Statistics does those really funny kind of mock-up grids with really quite sharp.
Yeah, it's like old school comic.
Yeah.
Stuff.
With little speech bubbles and funny names and stuff.
Yeah.
I started following them on Facebook so I'd see more of it because Facebook's a bit weird at the moment.
Yeah.
And one of the things it shows me is this really bizarre. I think it's an Italian bloke writes this column, and it's a really odd style, and you kind of have to pick through it for an awful lot of what makes sense. But one of the things they were talking about was Aston Martin at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's the team actually officially called?
I don't know. Are they not just Aston Martin Racing?
No, I think they've got Aramco in their name.
Oh, yeah. They
can't find... teams, here we go.
Aston Martin Aramco F1 team.
Yeah. Do you know who Aramco are?
They're oil, aren't they?
They're the Saudi oil company.
Ugh.
And Saudi really does want to get itself... I mean, Saudi in general have got a huge fund to take over as many sports as they possibly can.
Yeah, they've bought out loads of footballers.
And they've divided the world of golf by buying out pretty much a whole golf competition and a league.
Yeah. I think they're doing WWE as well now.
I know Ronnie O'Sullivan is basically leaving World Snooker because he can move to, I think it's Saudi, and make hand over fist money.
Yeah, they are.
But yeah, Aramco
sports washing is what it is.
Aramco are now entirely owned by the kind of Saudi Wealth Fund, I think it's called.
Yeah, it says majority state-owned company that is the National Oil Company of Saudi Arabia.
It did start... I got down a bit of an internet rabbit hole. It did start as the Arab American Oil Company, hence Aramco.
Oh, I see.
But they took over, basically.
Yeah.
But they own a 20% stake in Aston Martin already.
Mm.
And there are rumours that they want to increase that to 100%.
Yeah, I think I've heard that they want to buy out Aston altogether.
But then you also figure in that they've already got Adrian Newey in their corner.
Yeah.
They've got a fairly deep pot of money to draw on. I know that Adrian has been helping them design new wind tunnel and technical facilities.
Yeah.
And really a top-down restructure.
Mm.
And the current rumour is if Max wants to leave Red Bull, there is a deal on the table that is at least 3 years and at least $100 million a year.
$100 million a year.
Guaranteed for 3 years with performance bonuses.
Yikes.
Which then you kind of consider an Adrian Newey car. Oh, they've got Honda Mugen power units.
They could make another Red Bull.
Yeah.
With as much money as they have.
Yeah. And the fact they're building whole new facilities at Silverstone as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, you kind of always think of Red Bull as this colossus that have dominated the sport, but actually in 2005 they bought Jaguar.
Yeah.
Minardi. Jaguar and Minardi, who weren't... I mean, Jaguar were a fairly solid midfield team. Minardi weren't... Minardi aspired to be midfield, to be blunt.
They were beloved back markers, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, there was a lot of passion.
Yeah, everybody I feel like everybody loved them because they were Italian and they were passionate, but they were quite crap.
Yeah, they were kind of like Jordan. They were the last of the old school teams where person, Mr. Minardi, started the team because he believed in racing, and they weren't huge corporate.
I think Sauber and Williams have kept it going a little bit.
Well, Williams is owned by venture capitalists.
Yeah, and Sauber's going to turn into Audi.
Yeah.
Which is a bit sad because Peter Sauber was also just a bloke with a name.
Yeah.
To be fair, if I had hundreds of millions of dollars, I would just start a Formula 1 team.
Yeah, it might not be enough.
I know, it would be the worst F1 team in the world by one, but it would be, it would be mine.
Yeah, and I think I am going back through my spreadsheet now. I think that not Minardi, where's Red Bull gone?
Jaguar.
I think Jaguar started off as Stewart Racing. Yeah, Stewart GP. Which is, again, so you've got Jackie Stewart. I wish I could remember his first name. Is it Alex Minardi?
Hang on, I just was on Minardi's thing. Giancarlo.
Yep, and
the
Jordan.
Most Italian name ever.
Yeah, Eddie Jordan.
Yeah, the most British name ever.
And Jackie Stewart.
Yeah,
Giancarlo. And between them, those three have become Red Bull Racing,
Visa Cash App RB,
and Aston Martin Aramco.
Yeah, it's a bit sad that Aston Martin, who are quite a significant British sports car maker, like Bond and everything, it's less of their identity is in there because of a massive Saudi oil company.
Yeah, and they're just a brand that can be bought, unfortunately.
Would they rename it just Saudi Aramco F1?
I don't know, because Aston Martin were in Formula 1 59 and 60, I think.
Yeah.
But it was fairly rubbish.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit sad because it's not really an Aston Martin if you think about it. It hasn't. Aston Martin make their own engines. They design their own cars.
Do Aston make their own engines?
I think for their own cars.
Not many people really do anymore. I'm just gonna have a look at their because they've got the Vantage and the Valkyrie and stuff.
Yeah.
Vantage. They use Mercedes engines sometimes, but they do also have. They do make their own 5.2 litre V12.
Yeah.
Standard for a small hatchback.
Well, yeah, fuel popping into the.
I think my Micro's got something similar. I'm sure.
I don't know how many cylinders of your Micro would equal. Well, how many cylinders that V12 would equal your whole Micro engine?
Well, it's a 5.2 litre V12, which means that the 5.2 litres is split into 12 cylinders. So each cylinder is half a litre, so 2.
Yeah. I think, 2 or 3.
Yeah, 0.4, so between 2 and 3.
Yeah, that's a bit...
It makes it all the more ridiculous that F1 cars are running 1.6 litre hybrid engines.
Yeah.
Which is like Prius size.
But, yeah, I mean, Volkswagen have got a production car engine that's 2 litres and 400 horsepower now.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that. It's like one of the most efficient engines ever made.
And also there's a Koenigsegg engine.
Yeah.
That's like a weird tiny engine that can switch between 4-stroke and another weird cycle, and can either be super efficient or blisteringly fast, and it's absolutely tiny.
I think you've told me about that.
Do you know the weird thing about the result in Canada?
What, apart from the fact that Norris wasn't up there?
Norris was classified 18th.
Yes.
Because he completed over 90% of race distance.
Yeah.
The stewards also looked at it and said, "Oh, you've got a 5-second penalty for causing a collision."
Yeah.
But because he'd done over 90% of distance, he actually qualified as a DNF plus 5 seconds.
Yes.
So that penalty was completely pointless.
But it saved him from a grid drop in Austria.
Oh, yeah.
So he was probably quite grateful. He was like, yeah, penalise me 10, 30, drive through, whatever. Just don't carry on to the next race.
Oh, right. After Norris stuffed his car, basically.
Yeah.
George Russell was behind the safety car.
Yes.
And he hammered on the brakes to what he calls cycling heat through the brakes. Matt caught Max napping, and Max came alongside him. And they both got called to the stewards. And what I find is the weirdest, I mean, even for the Red Bull Mercedes, tension has really been there since Abu Dhabi 2021.
Yeah.
Christian Horner said that Mercedes were acting in an unsportsmanlike way and bringing the sport into disrepute by saying over the radio, "Max overtook me under the safety car."
Yeah.
And what struck me as weird was, at the same time, Max was on the radio to GP and said, "Oh, Max, Russell just brake checked me."
Yeah.
So apparently that wasn't bringing the sport into disrepute and acting in an unsportsmanlike fashion. But
No.
Russell doing exactly the same thing was. I mean, even for Christian Horner mind games, that's a heck of a stretch.
Yeah. It was. I think both of them were trying to get the other a penalty.
Yeah.
Because Max maybe knew that if he played it up a bit, 5-second penalty, he'd win the race easy because it's safety car.
Yeah.
I mean, the result was he was 2 tenths behind. 5-second penalty actually drops Russell back down to 4th, 5th.
He would have been between Leclerc and Hamilton. Yeah.
So, but then also Russell knows that if Max gets a penalty point, he's out for a whole race.
I can't see that. I mean, if they just stuck to the facts, Russell did drop more than 10 car lengths behind the safety car.
Yeah.
That's not, "Oh, he's acting dangerously" or "he's brake checking me." That's actually a fact borne out by telemetry.
Yes.
And that's outside the rules.
And I think he did brake. Well, he braked to get temperature into his brakes or whatever. Again, the facts are that he did brake there on the straight.
I mean, I think Rosberg said, because he's always brilliant to listen to for commentary, I think Rosberg said what was actually going on there was Max was annoying him.
Yeah.
Max knows where the mirrors are and where the blind spots were. And if you watch it back, Rosberg said, yeah, but Max was winding him up. He was ducking in and out of his blind spot in the mirrors. He was basically antagonising him.
Yeah.
And Russell reacted. But the stewards actually said it's standard behind the safety car to warm up your tyres and warm up your brakes. Nothing Russell did was like unusual or...
Yeah.
And likewise, it wasn't like Max was trying to overtake under the safety car.
No, it was a mistake.
Yeah. And as soon as he could brake hard enough.
Oh yeah. I think, didn't the FIA just sort of say, "There's nothing here, go away"?
Basically, yeah. And in a way, it was kind of... I did see an article that said it's actually this kind of gamesmanship from both teams is really bad for the sport because
you
didn't walk away from it going, well, that was an awesome win by Russell. You walked away from it going, will that stand?
Yeah, and it encourages that kind of change in the result after the race was finished.
And I actually remember I woke up. I actually woke up on that Monday morning, and the first thing I did when I picked my phone up was go to the Formula One website because I wanted to know who'd won.
Yeah.
Because I knew all this was going on, and I just my first thought when I woke up is, wonder who won that race that I watched yesterday.
Yeah, and I head to the FIA documents website. There's literally a section called Decision Documents.
Yeah, I mean, either of them will do, but that's not good for the sport when, I mean, obviously we are geeky enough about it, we're running this podcast, but even we're like, oh, Monday morning, I wonder who won that race yesterday. It's just not, it's not great overall. No, and like I say, there is needle between those two no matter what they say, and that's the kind of... It was interesting. I'll tell you what was interesting was to see actually how finishing a race under the safety car actually looks.
Yeah.
Because what happened was they pulled the safety car off into the pits on the final lap.
Yes.
And under the rules, you're not allowed to overtake until the start-finish line.
Or is it the safety car line?
I think it's the start-finish line.
Yeah.
Because that's why they pulled it. So therefore they get the photographs. You can see Russell going down the straight with the checker flag, nobody in front of him, so therefore you've got the kind of photograph and the fireworks and all of that to say, oh, it's clear who's won. You don't want to see that with a hulking great safety car in front of him, do you?
Yeah.
But again, with the kind of bad feeling, why was Max less than a quarter of a second behind him?
Well, he was right up there, wasn't he? He wanted to annoy him.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make any difference. He could have lifted off and been a second or half a second.
Mm.
There's nothing else he could do. It wasn't like he was going to suddenly win on the line. It was just...
Yeah, because then Antonelli was a second behind Norris. Piastri was a second behind him, then another second, and then a big old gap to Hamilton.
Yeah.
Actually, why was Alonso 2/10 behind Hamilton?
Yeah.
To wind him up. Because it's
and then
Hamilton and Alonso.
Hulkenberg was 5 seconds back, and then
it gets to lapped cars.
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's Hamilton and Alonso getting on each other's nerves because they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very odd. Everybody's always talking as well about the fact that Russell doesn't have a contract yet this year.
Yeah, there's been lots of talk about that now.
And as I say, nobody expects Verstappen to be driving a Red Bull in 2026.
No. I don't even know if Red Bull do at this point.
I saw a bit of an interview where Christian Horner said, well, any contract negotiations are private between the two people negotiating. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
That's the way it's always been. There's always going to be noise.
Yeah.
But because Russell's out of contract, and everybody knows that Toto Wolff would love to get his hands on Max Verstappen.
Yeah, Toto's, I think, actually come out and said that they've been talking.
Well, I mean, even way back, I think last year when they were losing the Constructors' title and Max was in a fight with Norris, and there was all that kind of talk about Adrian Newey leaving, and there was the, well, if you sack Helmut Marko, I'm going, and
yeah.
Around that time, it was announced that, I can't remember who, Toto Wolff and two others had sat down and basically figured out where they could get the money from to poach Max Verstappen.
Yeah, they had like a war chest, which was like hundreds of millions.
Yeah. But I said it then, and I'll say it again. It makes no sense for Mercedes to poach Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
I mean, who would they fire?
Well, that is the big question now. Because are they going to let Russell go?
I don't think Max would come if Russell was in the team.
That's a good point, actually. I mean, that would kind of make Hamilton and Alonso look like they were best of friends.
Yeah, it'd be like a tea party. On the other hand, Max might join just to annihilate Russell.
Yeah, but then it would be like, oh, it's a front row lockout for Mercedes, and then they would just actually drive into each other and wouldn't even get to the first corner. They'd be like perpendicular to the starting grid.
Yeah.
Just.
Or like Verstappen would just run Russell into the wall.
Or he would if Russell would yield, which he wouldn't. He just turned into him even harder.
Yeah.
It would. Yeah, I think it would just be awful for the team culture if both of their drivers kind of hated each other.
But there again as well, you see, thinking about it, Max has always been a Red Bull driver.
Yeah.
So he's had that entire team built around him, built to make him succeed. If he parachuted into, say, Mercedes are doing the same thing for Antonelli. They've done the same thing for Russell. He wouldn't have... It'd be like Hamilton in Ferrari.
Yeah.
He would go in, I'm a multi-world champion, I'm worth hundreds of millions, and suddenly find out that nobody believed him in a way.
Yeah.
I actually think I think taking a sabbatical next year is the most likely choice.
Yeah, I think so. Especially if he loses this championship, which he probably will.
Or if enough stats come out about the 2026 package to go, that's really rubbish.
Yeah.
I actually think if he does then come back, it will be for somebody like Aston Martin.
Yeah, it could be.
Or maybe even Cadillac. Do you think if Saudi increased their stake in Aston Martin, they could get rid of Lance Stroll?
Yes.
They could negotiate a deal for Alonso to move to a halo position, or wait and see how fast Alonso is with a fully Adrian Newey designed car and a Honda power pack, which might be fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they would be able to either bring up somebody young to be tutored by Alonso, which is a bit terrifying.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, just get somebody else back in. It's kind of interesting. I read an article about Singapore 2008.
Oh, God, yeah.
And the fact that Alonso walked away from it with no kind of penalty at all, and he was just like, I never knew about it.
Yeah, no incrimination.
Yeah. And I never thought about it like this. You know, Alonso's like really outspoken in the cockpit.
Yeah.
And if he sees something wrong, he'll call it out.
Yeah.
They called him in for a pit stop.
Uh-huh.
Completely out of sync when it made no sense for the rest of the race. It was really early.
Yes.
And he didn't say anything. He didn't say, oh my god, why are you doing this? You've ruined my race. Or, what's this strategy? Or, they were just like, box. And he was like, yeah, okay.
That is interesting.
I mean, obviously we can't say, oh my god, he didn't know all about the plot to stage a crash.
Yeah.
Because we'll never know, and there's no way Alonso's ever going to say anything other than, no, it was a complete surprise to me.
Yeah, it's...
But you consider his personality and the fact that, you know, if he thought the strategy was rubbish, he would let you know.
But this was quite early in his career still. I don't know if he would have been that outspoken then. Yeah, okay, fine, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he must have had an idea. I don't think they would have told him explicitly.
No.
You know, Nelson's going to crash on this lap to get you in.
No.
They probably just said, pay attention, we have a plan to use the pit stop, like, you know, the safety car for pit stops.
Or we're going to try something, or...
Just pay attention, you're going to be coming in early, trust us.
Yeah.
And he probably would have gone, okay. So that he didn't kind of say anything.
Yeah, it was all a bit weird. Also, Cadillac now have 250 days before free practice 1 in Australia.
Yep.
I've actually seen them interviewing the people in Cadillac, and they said, yeah, we've got that number printed up on every wall in every office, basically.
Yeah.
They still haven't chosen a driver lineup.
No. I think there are a few options. Bottas has been having fun with it.
Yeah.
He made a video of somebody showing off his new Cadillac.
Yeah.
And Bottas goes in and goes, "Oh, can I have a look?" And then he goes inside, opens the door and says, "Damn, these are some really nice seats."
Yes.
And then he looks up and goes, "Are these seats free? Both of them?" And the guy's like, yeah. And then that's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
he's taking the mick a bit.
I've seen another Bottas video on Instagram where he's like, people always wonder what the third driver on a Formula One team actually does. Let me show you. And there's a picture of him sitting in the back of the garage flicking through his phone. And then he sat there with the mechanics drinking coffee and eating biscuits, and then he's signing things and taking selfies with the fans, and he's like, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a theory that it'll be Bottas and Perez. Though.
Yeah.
But then somebody else said, what happens if you get two wingmen in the same team?
They just aggressively try and help each other, you think?
Well, nobody knows,
like the opposite.
really.
It's the opposite of, like, he needs to give me a tow. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to give him a tow, tell him to get in front. And the other one's like, no, tell him to go faster, I need to give him a tow.
Yeah, although actually, I mean, every driver, like we said, wants to win, so...
Yeah. I think Bottas is quite likely, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But I also think... Yeah, I think Ricciardo said he's not going back to racing at all.
Yeah.
I don't know who else it could be then.
I think... I mean, the most logical thing that everybody does...
You get an old driver and a young driver.
Yeah, like the Formula One movie, which I really ought to go and see soon.
Oh, yeah. Well, I will be going back for the British Grand Prix, so we can watch it together.
Excellent. I have heard warnings from people like Hamilton and other drivers in it.
Yeah.
Where they said, oh, it's great fun, it's a really good film, but if you're an F1 geek, you'll hate it.
Oh.
And they said, obviously you get things like where they're going down the straight and one of the drivers suddenly finds an extra gear that wasn't there on the last lap, so he can go down a gear and overtake.
The Fast and Furious edition, just go faster thing.
On the Fast and Furious 26-speed gearbox.
Yeah, where they have to look at each other in the eyes.
Yeah.
Through the doors, and then bang bang slam, even faster.
Yep.
Whereas in
that's
reality,
how cars
in
work.
most drag races, they'd look at each other and then nothing would happen if they were that evenly matched.
Also, if you're going flat out, would you want to go up a gear or down a gear?
If you were going flat out, going down a gear would kill the engine, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you would just leap out of the car.
If you were at high revs, shifting down would just like wreck the gearbox.
Also, you've got an extra like 9th gear or 8th gear.
Yeah.
Which you suddenly find, which wasn't there on previous laps.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. One of the drivers actually said that. So, they actually suddenly find an extra gear.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a bit sceptical of it.
Yeah.
But I am still going to go and see it because I have to.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've heard people say that it's like Top Gun but with F1 cars instead of planes.
Yeah, I've got a confession to make.
You don't... What? You don't like Top Gun?
I never got on with Top Gun.
I think we did watch it, actually. And I didn't really get it much.
No, because, I mean, there's no plot.
No, it's just like... The plot is just fighter planes.
The fighter planes, Val Kilmer and...
Tom Cruise.
Looking cool.
I mean, yeah, I think that is actually the entire thing.
And chatting women up, like Kelly McGuinness.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's more of a straightforward plot in the Formula One movie from what I've seen, that Brad Pitt is the old dog and...
the other guy is Hamilton.
Yeah, a young up-and-coming driver who's
better than him.
Mm.
I think actually Brad Pitt's character is like returning after a long hiatus for some reason.
Yeah, to like...
But so I know they did a lot of filming with the actual F1 grid.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm quite interested to see how it
You can see like actual drivers walking past and
I think they've used CGI on real racing moments to make it look like Brad Pitt's car was where somebody else's was in the race.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember the actor's name. I think they've changed one of Hamilton's overtakes.
Yeah.
It's like I went to see one of the Gladiator 2. And people always said, Damson Idris, that's the other guy.
Yeah, we should, Damson Idris.
I went to see Gladiator 2.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, you saw it in the cinema, what was it like? And I was like, well, actually, I went to see it because it was a laugh. It's a Friday night entertainment. You grab some popcorn. If you're in the right cinema, you get a beer.
Yeah, I think I've heard people say popcorn cinema is one thing.
Yeah.
It's like when I did the Barbenheimer double back in the day. Because Barbie was effectively popcorn cinema.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was sort of entertaining. It did have a message to it. But then Oppenheimer is like a serious, like cerebral, acting-y, Oscar-type movie.
You know what?
Kind of appreciate the craft. It was still good.
I actually thought Barbie was probably better than Oppenheimer, but there we go.
Yeah, I'm not saying it wasn't. I think Oppenheimer was about 40 minutes too long.
Yeah, that was the main problem.
I think if they'd trimmed that last bit down quite a bit, it would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway.
With the F1 movie, I'm going to go to it on that basis. You know, it'll be a laugh. You get out of the house, you sit there for 3 hours, you spot all the famous people and the famous cars, you have some excitement.
You make extensive notes about every single mistake that they made.
No. You don't go to it expecting it to be like, I don't know, Senna or Rush or something like that.
Oh, Rush was so good. Rush was amazing.
If you really want to bend your brain, there's a series on BBC at the moment. I watched it by accident because I was channel hopping.
Yeah.
Called Prost.
Huh.
But it's from Canal Plus, so it's all in French with subtitles.
So it is about Alain Prost.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm sure this applies to other drivers. His brother was super into anything with an engine, motorbikes, cars, racing, you name it.
Yeah.
And Alain Prost was super into football.
Huh.
But then his brother got a brain tumour and he was kind of like, well, I'll do that for my brother. And then found out he was passable at it, midfield driver.
Wow, that is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, well, if you can... I found it difficult because I'm really bad at flicking through my phone while I'm watching TV.
Yeah.
But if you can actually concentrate and read the subtitles, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I think Prost is one of the most interesting and underrated drivers, probably.
Yeah.
Because I think he really does get overlooked a lot for Senna, who is much more kind of romantic in his presentation.
Yeah.
But I mean, Prost was statistically actually better than Senna in a lot of ways. And
he was a French superstar.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually said at one point in this documentary, I think it was episode 3 I saw, he was, he was a country boy from, I think, the south of the country. Didn't grow up in a big city or anything, and then all of a sudden he's sitting down with presidents and kings for dinner and kissing the ring of the Pope.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh yeah, it's kind of just a bit like Hamilton in a way, just kind of came from nowhere.
Yeah.
He got his second title in 1986, and his brother died in September 86.
Oh. Well, at least his brother got to see him
world champion. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like his brother died on I think they said a Monday or a Tuesday, and then he spoke to his mum, and he said, "Well, it's Portugal at the weekend," and she said, "Go, do what you do best." But it was kind of yeah. Anyway,
what were we talking about? Oh, the F1 movie.
Yeah, and like Cadillac and Colton Herta. I think he's a likely one for Cadillac.
Oh yeah, they might want an American actually.
They kind of said, "Yeah, we're not." They've been very coy. The interviews I've seen, they said things like, "We'll build a car first."
Yeah, I think
that.
Yeah, it would be good for the brand to get an American in.
Yeah.
Thing is, would someone like Colton Herta, who is quite good in actual IndyCar, I think he's like up there. I don't know if he's won championships or. He's got 9 victories. He came second once in 2024. Does he want to go from that to potentially a backmarker midfielder in Formula 1?
I mean, we are expecting them to be back markers just because it's such a large, aggressive sport.
We've seen in the past that getting into it is tough.
Well, like Manor, Marussia, Haas.
Yeah, like Virgin, Caterham, all the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah, but they've actually said, there are lots of drivers out there. We're very lucky to have a good shortlist. But really, we need to build... I suppose actually the other thing is they can build a car that works. They can run simulators. And then they can talk to drivers and say, look, this is about where we're at.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not a team yet, so they could use track time and testing. And actually, when they've got something to drive, it's probably then is the time to get some drivers in and go, well, come out, bring your overalls, bring a helmet. We can show you what we got.
Yeah.
So now we're looking ahead to Austria.
Yep, that has just happened.
No, we've got the race tomorrow.
I know, yeah. Yep. And then it's Britain.
Yep.
Which, we'll watch together in person.
Yep. Is there a break after that? When do we go into the summer break?
Let me have a look at... I wish I could... There we go. Schedule. Full schedule. Oh, God, the new website. They changed the F1 website. I don't like it. 4th to the 6th, 25th to the 27th. I think it might be... Yeah, that's 3 weeks. 21-day break between Britain and Belgium.
Yep.
So
and then straight into Hungary.
That's another long break, actually. That's another 3 weeks between Hungary and the Netherlands.
Yeah, I don't know how they figure out the summer break, because Hungary looks like it's right in the middle of basically a 6-week break, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like Belgium and Hungary and then another break.
Yeah.
That's weird. Oh well.
I think I'm going to say thank you for listening to us ramble, probably less on topic than we ever have been.
Yeah, well, lots of stuff has happened since that race. It's been a long time.
And also, I think it's going to be very interesting in Austria to see where Norris's head is at, basically.
Yeah.
Because he's the sort of person who could take quite a big knock from something like that.
We could spoil it.
No.
Okay, yeah. I wonder where Norris will qualify.
Also, what his head will be like in general, because that was a very desperate move and it did knock him out. And very quickly.
Yeah.
Piastri is now 22 points ahead of Norris.
It's quite a gap.
I think psychologically, if he can finish ahead of Norris in the race in Austria, he'll then have one whole race win on everybody else in the field.
Yeah.
And
which is like a buffer, isn't it? It's one massive screw up, and he's still safe.
Yeah, and I think it's a big psychological.
Yeah, it makes him feel probably safer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Well, looks like Piastri's probably got it in the bag.
Well, you can't say that in less than halfway through. If somebody brings a really good upgrade in.
Yeah, but he's really fighting his teammate. That's the thing.
Yeah, but if Red Bull get the car on song, Max is less than 50 points away.
Yeah.
If Mercedes bring in a really good... Mercedes
actually,
are 6...
There are not any huge gaps in the top 8, really, are there?
No. And different tracks favour different cars, so...
Yeah, the biggest points gap is only 32 in the whole field, so it is actually kind of all to play for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quite an interesting season.
I think it is going to go probably 2 or 3 races but from the end before we know who's won.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be down to the last race like it was in 2021.
Yeah.
But it certainly won't be as dominant as, what's it called?
Well, 23 for a start.
Yeah, 23 or 24. Or 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then. Alright. I'm going to say thank you for listening.
Yep.
I've been Graham Miller. As I said, actually in this podcast I write crime novels.
Yeah.
Graham H. Miller. Toby's... Actually your website's doing really well, your YouTube channel, isn't it?
Yeah, I've had a little break from uploading just because of some stuff in real life.
Yeah, but official Toby is doing really well.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you, hopefully not 2 weeks after Austria. We'll try and get our act together a bit better.
Yeah. Especially since we've got Britain 1 week afterwards.
Yep.
So we do have to kind of get together.
Okay then. Well,
Yep.
Thank you for listening.
Yep. Okay, bye.
Bye.